contest right now, okay? My heart can go on, okay? Celine Dion's one of Dion's biggest hit, if not her biggest hit of her career.
It's the biggest hit. It's the biggest hit of her career.
Okay. You tell me how many takes it took her to record that.
No, again, I think
No. Answer the question. How many takes did it take to record that song?
Maybe one. Maybe one.
Not even one, dog. The producer called her up that day and said, listen, I got this song. I'm going to come to your house. We're going to demo it. She went into her studio and demoed the song. That version that is released is her first take demo. That is why Celine wins.
Okay.
Point blank, period. End of story. No contest. Mariah never has and never will be able to do that.
Hold on, but that's cool. But if we're talking about numbers,
no, dog, we're talking talent.
No. But I'm faxing myself on numbers. On numbers, it's not even a competition. Not even close.
Are you counting Celine?
It's not a one-factor conversation, though. You have to factor in everything.
Yeah,
based on personality alone, Celine wins because Mariah Carey's a trash diva.
Hold on, again, but we're saying this, and this is what wow,
dog, it's not even a contest. You can't counter my argument. You can't counter that. Mariah has never done that ever. Cannot do that ever.
She probably has. I don't know without that.
No, she hasn't. She hasn't.
But hold on.
That one instance isn't the measure by which to judge
but it is
that talent and her success and her charisma and her.
If you record your biggest hit, in one take, we're talking about her not even hearing the song prior.
Not proof that it's not like a one-off, though. Not a one-off, but not proof that doesn't prove. That's evidence, but that doesn't prove.
But if we go about that, let's say that. But Mariah Carey has something that no artist has. She has a Christmas hit that will live forever and ever.
She lucked out with the Christmas hit, Doug. Celine still got her residency.
Doesn't she kind of feel like a sellout these days? I mean, like
yeah, she's a shell of her former self. Mariah can't hit the notes she used to.
But you only play that Christmas hit at Christmas. Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On" is on Shoppers Radio daily, year round.
If you got a Christmas hit, though, that's forever. That is forever. Those Christmas hits.
That is
not wrong.
January, those Christmas artists, they're just like
again. And she wrote it. That's the thing. She's the only one that has wrote a Christmas song. She wrote it herself. Like she's the author of it, and she has a timeless Christmas song in the next. The only one that's close is like 400 years old.
No, that's not correct. Fucking, that would be the closest one is Paul McCartney's.
No, it hit.
Yes, it is. Paul McCartney and Wings when they did their Christmas song.
Sorry, Justin Bieber's "Under the Mistletoe"
with Boyz II Men.
No,
classic.
No.
Classic. The runs that boy does in that song.
Okay, I think we're. I'm a logical, factual person. For me, you got to show me numbers. You got to show me stats.
I'm showing you that
you posited a question.
Has the stats. She has the stats, and she's got the numbers.
You posited a question without saying stats.
But it's not even. If we go by numbers, it's not even close.
Only because the Christmas hit is not even close.
It's not even a close competition. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying.
Who's still putting out records? Celine. Who's still perform? Listen, Mariah's don't got no just to have a residency in Vegas. Mariah can't command the money that Celine does, and Celine still has her voice.
No, Mariah turned it down. Actually, she turned it down.
Mariah has no talent. She had no choice.
But you posited an argument. You wanted a debate, and you're asking for only logical facts when people are going to come up with other answers, like her being a diva and all these other options. You can't side with only half of an entire argument.
I'm a numbers dude. I'm a result. Life is about results. That's what I like. It's like
when you were doing the Anita Baker Whitney Houston thing.
But if the answer is based on the numbers, why even ask the question? It has to be based on more than just the numbers.
Well, the Anita Baker, no. The Anita Baker, and this is a fact. This is a good. The Anita Baker, it's a personal opinion. That's it. It's not based on
Anita wins for me because Anita's got a smoother voice.
For me, it's a personal opinion. For me, it's a personal opinion that I think if Anita Baker would have gone the Whitney Houston route, no chance. I mean,
if she would have, exactly, but Whitney Houston's biggest hit is a cover song. So, honestly, Anita wins that hands down.
Not
just
even
on
that.
Numbers.
They just went different routes, and Anita's more of and again, one is not alive, and that's the other thing. But personally, because they came out almost on the same time, personally, the Anita Baker's first album washes his Whitney Houston's first album.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But that's my personal opinion. But if we go by numbers, not a chance. Whitney Houston.
But Whitney Houston numbers are only big because of the Bodyguard soundtrack. And again, her biggest hit is a cover song, so it doesn't even count.
Well, the cover song, that's the same as then you're counting out the Beach Boys. Beach Boys have the biggest hit. It's a cover song.
But we're not talking about the Beach Boys. We're talking about Whitney Houston.
But you would count a whole bunch of bands that have cover songs that are their biggest hit.
Right, but if you're looking at numbers, you can't count numbers if it's a cover song. It's like with Selena and whatever we're doing. Celine wins because it's not a cover song, right? Like Celine wins because. Celine wins because of performance, and Celine wins because of longevity.
Back in the Maritimes, I'm Hillary. These are bitches arguing about Celine Dion, Mariah Carey.
That's a good argument. You got. I wouldn't even know who I'd pick out of either of those. So those are good points.
You know what? The funny thing.
Whitney Celine done for me.
Whitney Celine. I don't know. Whitney's. It's amazing, but I mean,
Whitney was amazing. Whitney messed up her vocal cords.
I mean, the Whitney Houston story is it's a sad tragedy. It's just a tragedy.
We love a tragedy.
It is, but that's what happens when you decide to marry Bobby Brown. I mean,
no, but even before,
and I love Bobby Brown. Like Bobby Brown is like uber talented.
Check out her.
I love the man's music is great, but.
Check out her documentary. It's on Netflix. It's so tragic. It's so tragic.
I'll check that out. Then I will for sure.
It is a tragic from her family. It's just a tragic story. Like you learn, and then her daughter dies, and it's
I remember that.
It's like no chance of having a normal life. All right, let's start the show. Let's do this. Okay, we're recording. Yeah. I just had this with my girlfriend, and she's now texting me. Let it go. I told you.
Are you all recording your audio?
Yep, recording.
Yeah. We're good. Okay, let's start the show.
Yeah.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of Black in the Maritimes. I'm Fidel.
I'm Hillary.
I'm Clinton.
And I'm Alon.
And we're back in another week of a little bit more bullshit than before. But anyways, we still got something for you. First off, we're gonna start something lightheaded because this is gonna be a little bit dark. We're going to talk about Kanye West. Kanye West's net worth just became the richest Black African American in the history, saying that he is worth now $6.7 billion. Now, how do you break down this $6.7 billion? That's what everybody asks. Like, his Yeezy brand is worth 1.6. His assets are worth 900 million, and the future sales of his worth with Gap, which again, he has not sold anything yet, but people are counting future sales of the brand is about worth like $4.2 billion. So that's why he's getting that. Now, if you count out the Gap, which he hasn't sold a shirt yet, it's about 1.9 billion dollars. The richest African American still Robert F. Smith, which is a guy that he's a hedge fund manager. But I mean, this is news. This is what's all over the paper. So Alan, well, let's start with you. What do you think about this?
You know what? I got a lot more love for Kanye than I do for Jay-Z. And even business-wise, I think Kanye brokers better deals. Like the Yeezy deal, he got percentage of sales. And I think Kanye thinks long term. I think the Gap deal is a good deal because it's not a bougie brand. It is still suburban, but it's not so high end where people can't afford it, but it's going to be moderately priced. He'll do well. And I mean, minus all of his political views and, his bipolar and not taking his meds and jumping on the Trump train, which, is a totally different episode. Good for him. It's nice to see him win. I know there's a lot of bad press about him. He's going through that divorce with Kim, and a lot of people are shitting on him right now. But good for him. I like the way that he does business. I like the contracts from what I've heard in the past and the deals, like I said, that he's brokered. I like the way they look. And like I said, he plays for the long term and he makes money. And he's not, stepping on anyone's neck or selling anyone out to do it. So I'm fine with it.
Clinton, what's your thought about it?
So that Gap payout for his future commissions, over how many years are they estimating that?
They're estimated over the next 6 to 7 years.
That soon, eh?
Well, that's what they're saying, that the brand. But again, one of the things you got to look at a net worth is that there is the brand about it. So a lot of the equity that Kanye has is his brand, not necessarily is tangible. Is when you think about a brand, it's whatever people want to pay for it, other than like real sales. But they're thinking that within 6 or 7 years, he might do a couple of billions, around 2.6 billions on sales, and then the other thing is just this brand.
And what is he doing with the Gap? Clothing?
Yeah, clothing.
Just clothing? Anything? Like a bunch of... I think it's cool. I like Kanye too. Like I like Kanye and I like Jay-Z. Jay-Z to me was kind of like, I don't know. It was just like, I don't know. I always really like Jay-Z, but Kanye, you kind of have like a soft spot for him, right? Like I've listened to his music is just insane. I pretty much judge an artist by their music, but not really what they do. And Kanye has made sick music for so long. He has made good business deals. Ups and downs, but charismatic. He's that kind of human being that you just, whether you like what he's doing or not, you have to look at him, right? You have to look in his direction and pay attention to him. So, I mean, again, I don't really care, but it's cool. It's crazy how these when you get to a certain status and level, you can just make these deals, like sign this pen contract and like billions. Everything changes. I don't think it increases your level of happiness. I don't think there's anything at that point you really can't do or can't buy already. So to Kanye, it's all just numbers on a screen. They actually have a study where there's a certain amount of money a person can make per year, at which point like that person will no longer continue to be happier by making more money. But it's cool. It's good.
What about you, Hillary?
Well, I guess my first thought about the Gap deal is that I remember years ago when Gap had partnered with the Red brand charity, and like money from all of these shirts that you bought was going to be donated to like the World AIDS Foundation. That's probably not the exact name of that charity. And then come to find out all the clothing had been made through child labor, and it was this huge scandal. And so I sort of don't know that like they've built up a really great reputation since then. Like I still associate Gap with that. But like good for Kanye, I guess. I just like I like him as a musician. I feel sad for him because of all of his mental health issues, and it seems like he's constantly struggling and into the public eye, and so facing more scrutiny because of it. I also thought that I had read that Kim was divorcing him because he was about to lose out on like $600 million or something, and that Kris Jenner had convinced Kim to divorce him at this exact time so that the date of separation would save her from losing her money. And clearly that probably doesn't affect his net worth that much when we're talking billions. But it's all, I guess it's interesting. I don't know. Do I care? Like these people are so like elite and above us that like, cool, good for him. I don't like I wouldn't buy Yeezys. I won't buy the Gap clothes. I won't listen to his album about Christ our Lord and Savior. I hope he's happy.
Jesus is King has a couple of good songs.
Kanye's got a lot of good songs, man. Lyric wise, he's a great beat maker, producer. Like he's up there in my mind with like Timberland, you know, and Swizzy. Like, I mean, the man's got talent, and I think quite frankly, him getting rid of Kim is going to be the best thing for him. I think everyone who's separated from Kardashian has experienced huge success and prosperity in both their mental health and their finances. So, you know, good for him. I hope he wins. I'd rather see him win than Jay-Z, quite frankly.
As a producer, I can say Kanye must be in the top 10 best hip hop producers of all time. Definitely, that's no questions asked. Now, I will say this. Kanye has pulled out the biggest gangster move that I thought he could ever pull, and I will explain why. When you're in business, and this is a Donald Trump move. This is a very big Donald Trump move. Donald Trump was broke at one time. He was broke and had no money, but the only thing that he had was his brand, and that's what led him to get The Apprentice, and that's how he became richer again and more famous. Kanye has pulled this off, and this is just me thinking about it. Like I said, in a business perspective, that he's getting divorced. This might be something that may or may hurt him. So he's going ahead and saying, wait, let me put this out there, saying that I am the richest black guy. I'm saying that this is worth billions of dollars. So my brand is stabilized. And even when I get divorced, my brand will still be up anybody else. And I'm like, whoa, because in a business perspective, his Gap deal has made $0. And this could go really bad or really, really well. The expectation is that it will go really, really well. But the branding of it, just because the Yeezy, that's the thing with the Yeezy, he hunts 100% of it. And the branding of it, he owns it, which he could sell later to Adidas if that's part of the deals. And I think that's the gangster move here. The gangster move is like, he will say to Gap, hey, look, I'm broke, buy me out. Here's, my brand is worth $3 billion. There you go. And it's like, that's it. He will be rich forever and his brand will be rich forever. So congratulations to Kanye. I can't hate on that. It was like, he pulled out a Kris Jenner move because Kylie Jenner did the same thing with her makeup brand, and it was false, and it just elevated her to a next level at that point. So congratulations to Kanye. That was an amazing move. Now we're gonna head to some Canadian news now. The Conservative government has just had their kind of meeting, or the delegation, and they have voted down a proposal to recognize climate crisis as real. This is a blow to their leader, Aaron O'Toole, which he's trying to be more of a moderate. He's trying to come as a moderate. And he's the guy that's going to go against the incumbent prime minister, which is Justin Trudeau. The motion got rejected, 54 votes no, 46 votes yes. And again, it was forwarded by Aaron O'Toole. And this is a responsibility that all countries have been taking on, not just Canada. And again, it's kind of shocking with the Conservative government doing this. And it's a little bit of a hit because they are kind of divided. Again, it was a majority vote, but they decided not to do this. So Hillary, what's your thought about it?
Well, when you read the article, it does say that the Atlantic provinces and Quebec were part of the delegates that said yes. So that does make me feel better about back home. But it also does make a lot of sense to me that obviously Ontario over, where they're like fighting for the pipeline, would be against admitting that climate change exists. In a more selfish way, I guess, that like, in a way, I'm happy that they shot themselves in the foot. I personally don't want a Conservative Party to be in power. So if Aaron O'Toole's right in saying that this is going to lead to them losing again because they are still behind on the times, not admitting that climate change is real and in fact happening, and we get Justin Trudeau again, he's definitely the lesser of two evils. So it would like, I think that they're stupid for not admitting that it's clearly happening, but if that's what helps us stay in a non-conservative majority country, then all the power to them.
All right, Alon, what's your thought about it?
I think I agree with Hillary. I think, you know what, the Conservatives are doing what they usually do, which is just make really dumbass decisions. You know, their tactics of trying to find, you know, this great, you know, career-ending scandal for Trudeau is just not working. It's not going to work because Canadian scandals aren't that serious. I don't know why Canadians make a big deal of the shit that Trudeau does. He's not doing anything hardcore in my book. And they just continue to think that's the way to go. You know, it just shows, it definitely shows the ignorance of conservatives, and it shows their arrogance as well, for them to believe that, you know, they don't need to make to change and to, you know, change their MO on how they go about campaigning and the issues. Shows their ignorance and their arrogance. I just think that this is typical. It doesn't surprise me. I don't feel bad for Mr. O'Toole because, you know what, this is the party you chose to be with. So, you know, we tried to tell you they were fucking idiots, and now you're finding out they're not that bright. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. And this, you know, and honestly, hopefully, I would love to think that people would see this and say, and wake up and say, oh wow, like these guys really are not clued in to reality. I think there may be a small percentage of current conservatives who maybe begin to rethink being a conservative, but I think that the majority are going to keep going. And I think, you know, unfortunately, their fan base believes as they do. especially if you're in that 1%, you're making money off of fossil fuels and destroying the environment. Then you know what? That is what you believe. You do not believe in climate change. You don't want to believe in climate change because it's bad for business. So it doesn't surprise me. And you know what? I hope they make more fuck ups like this in the future.
How about you, Clinton?
Well, they're conservatives, so like you said, Fidel, like they are really divided, and so that's one thing. But they have to be divided because they're conservatives, and they, they're big oil, and they can't admit that climate change is real. Like they can't do both. They can't like be for the pipelines and for oil and for less government involvement, lower taxes, and all that stuff, and then say climate change, but we have to keep, drilling oil in Alberta. I don't know how they're going to do that. Aaron O'Toole is trying to be more modern, and they're realizing that what they're saying is just not appealing to what Canada is becoming among all cultures. I don't know how they're going to reconcile this one. It's kind of funny. We'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, my biggest thing about this is that you have countries like China that they don't give a fuck about human life or anything. And even they are saying, hey, look.
Oh, come on, dude, that's harsh. That's harsh, man.
Wait.
Stop Asian violence. Holy fuck, man. That's harsh.
This episode
China
wasn't controversial enough. Okay, cool. There we go.
China does not care about human lives. Like they are.
You double down on the statement?
Yeah, they do.
Oh,
it's true. If you look at the Uyghur situation in China, they are up. But even China and Russia,
maybe you should say the Chinese government or something.
The Chinese government. Yeah.
Thank you. Holy.
Fine. Well, you know what I'm referring.
All people. They don't care about like the planet and the environment as a whole, not like a specific targeted group.
No, or at least the Chinese government, as far as we know them.
No industrialized country
what
does.
We're told about
That's just
get
what.
Killed.
Wait, all the contrary. The Chinese government cares about the environment. The Chinese government is in the climate agreement. They are the ones that are saying that the climate needs to go down. Russia says that that we need to change the climate. Like when you have two countries that don't care about human rights, they don't care about anything else, and they're saying like, hey, this climate change thing is real. Like this is real. When you have one of the hottest states as Texas has a snowstorm that they are not prepared for it. Georgia not prepared for it.
But Texans are still saying that they don't believe, that there's an issue with climate change. Still,
but a recent survey says that more Texans are believing it now because they experience it. Yes, you are right. Texas is one of the states that are more. There's more. There is more objection, but they are the biggest state that's getting into clean energy, which is another conundrum. Like they have more wind turbines than anybody else in the United States. They have more solar energy than anybody else in the States. Because even they understand that, it's money. Like they only like money.
I thought they were doing that because they wanted to have their own separate powers. So like they wanted their own grid. That's why they got fucked over in the last storm, because they're not connected to the federal grid. They have their own. So the wind turbine and the solar, I thought that was because they wanted to be self-sufficient and not have to be on the federal grid because they wanted to be special, not because they realize that climate change is a thing and they want to be proactive.
No, it's neither either or. It's about money. It's about that. Remember how it works in Texas is that anybody can generate their own energy and can put it as a private enterprise because they own their own grid. So the more power resources you have, the more you can sell energy. That's really much what it comes to. So if you have more sources, you have more energy. So therefore, they have coal, they have natural gas, they have oil, they have wind turbines, they have solar, and that's a different economy. But having that said, when you go against countries that are not in touch like Canada is supposed to be this progressive country, and other countries that are not as progressive are saying to you, look, this is real. Science doesn't care about your feelings. This is real. And Aaron O'Toole is trying to kind of make sense into this, but again, I think it's still Stephen Harper's party, which is a very West party, because he's an Albertan, and Alberta, even Alberta, I think, is realizing that the oil and gas is not coming back to what it was back in the day. So this is a really big hit for them, because I mean, they are stepping out of reality, and politically, I don't think that's gonna welcome them good in a recent election. We thought we weren't gonna have an election. If I'm Justin Trudeau, I probably would have an election soon because it's a really big advantage for him. So definitely that's something to we'll see what happens. So speaking of Asians now, this is gonna get dark. I can't believe we're laughing about this, but
we have to segue better than that. That we can't say that. You can't do this.
We just segued to it. That's what we're doing. And thank God this is not in Canada, but it could happen in Canada. I mean, we're not that far away as people think we are. In Atlanta, if you don't know, which you probably do know, there was a shooting that killed 8 people. 6 out of these 8 people were Asian women. And the killer, as you know, is a white man that just shot them and killed them. His name was Aaron Long, 21-year-old Atlanta area resident. The sad thing about this, it's, again, I'm not 100% sure, because I will say this, mass shooting in the United States happen all the time. It's not even, it's sad, but it's common. It's really sad, but it's a common thing there. So I'm not surprised about the mass shooting. I'm also not surprised that is with minorities, Muslims, Black people, Asians. That's, again, when it's a minority, I mean, it gets plot different than if it's white people. We've seen that. That's a normal thing. My concern was the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. The captain, Jay Baker, told in a press conference that the guy had a bad day and that he had a sex addiction. So he was trying to kind of humanize him.
Listen, man. Okay, I don't know who's going first.
Wait. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
Let's go. Let me finish. So the fact that he had to humanize this guy, and then we find out that the captain had some anti-racial Asian propaganda merchandise that he bought. And he was
selling, not buying, selling.
And promoting. He was promoting it. So definitely it is quite, it is quite bad when you try to humanize a killer for a hate crime because of the color of his skin. So I'm not going to go too much about it because I see that Lonnie's eager to talk. So
I'm going to let Hillary go first because these were women that were attacked. So I'm going to let Hillary go first. Can
we circle back though? Just did you say that the police chief was selling merchandise that was
he was found on his face would be selling China virus T-shirts.
Yep. He was selling
the captain of the fucking police, and he's the guy standing up there saying, "Oh, he had a bad day. He has addiction issues. Blah blah bullshit." Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure if he was selling, but the post comes like this. He says, "I bought mine, buy yours," and it says like China virus, Corona China virus. That's the
probably
whole
not
thing.
selling.
And he has not. That's just one post. He has other posts, racially, explicitly Asian racist comments. So it is quite sad that this guy is still a captain. But anyways, well, Alon said it to Hillary, so
yeah.
Not surprising that he would humanize this guy if he is racist. Never shocking when white police officers are racist in any way. This is extremely sad, extremely unfortunate. I read the statistics of how many Asian people live in that area, and it's like 100% is targeted against them. We know that hate crimes against Asian people have gone up because we're blaming an entire race for coronavirus happening when that I don't believe that to be true in the least. What it reminds me of though is this idea that like the guy who drove the van in Toronto and was known to be like an incelibate and like Why is everyone apparently just so frustrated with their dicks that they gotta kill people about it?
Is real.
What?
The thirst is real.
The thirst is never so real that you go into Asian spas and kill 8 of them.
No,
like that isn't.
You're
like,
right.
There's absolutely no reason to act that way or be that way. There's no reason to, like, the behavior is like murdering someone is never justified. Hurting somebody because you're that thirsty is never justified. Racism is not justified. This whole thing is bullshit and really, really sad and really unfortunate. And I'm just upset. It's very sad, and I think it's awful.
Yeah, I just listen. Let's just start from the beginning. All right. So if we go back even as far as I remember, and this hit me as a teenager when Columbine happened, and it blew me away, the press coverage of the Columbine shooting. Right. It blew me away because inner city shootings have been happening left, right, and center for years. Didn't get the coverage, didn't get the humanizing, didn't get the storytelling, none of that. The world fucking stopped when Columbine happened. And then all of a sudden we had people interviewing the families, and we had everyone breaking down the background of the shooters and this, that, and the third. And it was the music, it was the trench coats, it was all the other outside influences that everyone wanted to say was the reason why these young white men decided to go in and just shoot up the place. And that's literally when I began to realize in my life that there was a separation between race when it came to news coverage and to violent activity. So fast forward to this bullshit. And it's funny because I was rethinking what I said last week when I was like, fuck all white dudes. No, I'm not sorry for that. I'm not sorry for that at all. Because this is what happens. This is what happened, right? Like, this is the shit that goes down. And you know what? It happened in Atlanta, which is a predominantly black city. So you have this police captain who is clearly a racist running a police department in a predominantly black city. Okay. Listen, I am sick and tired of police being human and being patient when it comes to white violent offenders. I am sick and tired to these dudes getting taken alive and then they put a bulletproof vest over them to protect them because they fear that there may be retaliation. I'm sick and tired of the humanizing of these assailants. I'm sick and tired of the fucking excuses. Listen, white men, if you can't handle shit, seek help. Dead ass. Like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm sick and tired of the excuses that we as minorities and we as people of color and whether and you know what, and even, when it comes to women, I'm so sick and tired of white men getting the excuses and the get out of jail free cards. I'm tired of this. No one else gets this treatment. So they're going to go ahead and humanize this motherfucker now, right? Pump this into fucking society. So when he finally goes to trial, now all of a sudden he's been painted as the boy next door who had a few issues and he wasn't getting any. And you know what? He really didn't mean it. And it was the pornography's fault. And so what? So he skates in a year and a half because that's how long it's going to take for him to go to trial. Like, I'm tired of this nonsense. Like, I'm sick and tired of the inequality that exists in the media and in our justice system. If this dude were black, we would have picked out every criminal offense that he would have done. They would have shown him with the police numbers all fucked up in the police precinct. He's a criminal. He's an assailant. He's violent. It would have been all this shit. Now we're going to spend the next fucking year humanizing this motherfucker because he's white. I know he's 21, so he's got his whole life ahead of him. We don't want to ruin that because he may turn out to be someone great. Like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm so sick of this. My condolences go out to the family. You know what? And honestly, I really hope that, the Asian community, listen, they've been battling their own shit for a while. And I was guilty of, getting a little upset because I felt that Asian communities haven't really backed black communities in the past when it came to our struggles. And I may be wrong with that. I may be. I'm willing to say, you know what? I'm probably not fully educated on that. But what I've seen, I have not seen a lot of Asian support when it comes to black issues. But I'm hoping now, and I think people are. I think Asians are waking up and realizing that, you know what? It doesn't matter how educated you get, how much money you get, how many of you become doctors, how many stores you open. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, white supremacists and racists do not give a shit. If you are not white, they do not care. Point blank, period. And, you know, I just want to see justice done. I want to see this dude locked up and charged for these crimes as a full-on adult, as a person who went out and premeditated, picked up a gun, I think it was a rifle or a shotgun or some shit, and went out and just decided to do this because he had a fucking fetish he couldn't satisfy. That's just your own personal problem, dog. Deal with it. Like, I'm really just sick and tired of the excuses that white men get when they do something wrong and very foul and just lethal. And then there's every excuse in the book, and we as society, especially as people of color, minorities, are supposed to sit there and be like, oh yes, poor white man, of course it was the pornography that you fucking run and perpetrate. Of course. That's totally, I should have known better. I should have known better that, you know what, it was all that porn that your fellow white dudes make of you white dudes banging Asian chicks that got you all riled up in the first place. Oh, of course.
Who's shooting people in porn? Am I watching the wrong porn? Like, I don't understand.
But my point is, white dudes now think it's okay. They think it's okay now to take out their frustrations in a lethal format. They think it's okay. They're blaming everybody. Like, we have a whole generation, and not even this generation, but even older generations of white dudes who are now all pissy and in their bag because the world's waking up and not putting up with their shit. Mm-hmm. Dudes are mad because they can't get laid. Well, be a better dude. Like, that's no one's fault but your own. Like, level up. If you ain't getting no pussy, level up. That's no one's fault but your own. You want to get mad. You want to go in dark web chat rooms and talk your shit. And then you want to go out and shoot people? Like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. This is ridiculous. And we as a society are supposed to be like, oh no, totally understand. How could we miss it? We totally are at fault here, young white man. You totally deserve the world. I'm sorry. Nick, no, fuck this dude. If you know what, he were black, if he were Asian, if he were Muslim, if he were any other race but white, his ass would be in prison right now. There wouldn't even be a fucking trial. This story's going to get swept under the rug. They're going to humanize this motherfucker. And then when the trial pops up a year later, they're going to make this dude out to be the best Boy Scout that ever could have been. And he was just misled by a little bit of porn. And he didn't really know what he was doing. He was emotionally frustrated, and he went in and listen, no. He's the son of a Baptist minister, I think, and he grew up Baptist or some shit. It's like extreme Baptist. So he's got like this purity culture. Like, listen, I don't give a fuck about the excuses anymore. I'm tired of the excuses. If you commit a crime, do the fucking time and let the justice system be equal. That's all I want.
Now, to be clear, and I was gonna say, before I go to Clinton, Alon, there's been actually a long history of Asian and Black solidarity, from Japanese migration to the Philippines to the Vietnam War. So there has been in America, especially in the United States, there has been a lot of Black and Asian solidarity.
And I Fidel, like I said, I'm told I could be totally wrong about that. I'm saying like as someone who's grown up in New York and seen different things happen. I rarely have seen Asians side with other minorities when it comes to inequality. It's been a rare thing that I've seen. Again, like, and I said, listen, I could be wrong. I probably am wrong, and I hope I am wrong because all of us minorities are in this together, and this is a movement that we all need to take on, and we have one common enemy. So we all need to group together and put our energy together to fight the common enemy. So listen, if I'm wrong about that, then I'm wrong. I stand corrected. And my view is now changed. So it's all good.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I think one of the things that we also got to think, Asia is a whole continent. So there is Black people in the Asian continent. But before we go to that, let's go to Clinton. Go ahead.
No, you're right. Like, yeah, Asia, we are talking about all Asians in these discussions. But yeah, Asia is a number of countries, like Africa's a number of countries. And Alon, yeah, it's hard to know what's going on the ground because even I have no idea. But I think in the media and in movies and in stereotypes and in TV shows, it's definitely portrayed at every opportunity possible that Asian people don't like Black people and don't trust them and so don't want to work with them. And so I think that's even where that just like people who have never been around cops see cops on a TV show and they think that's how it is. Maybe that's where that perception comes from. Maybe that's where mine came from.
I think you're absolutely right. That's probably where mine comes from too, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for saying, like, that was really passionate about that guy. Like, that, thanks for saying that. Like, that's all, like, so true. And it keeps having to get said over and over again, but say it louder, and, like, you know, maybe more people will probably listen to that. I heard about this through memes originally, and the first I heard of it was people reporting on what happened, and then someone saying, like, in a caption, like, oh, he was just having a bad day, or, you know, or this, that, or the other. And I thought it was just memes at first. I thought people were just assuming what the response was going to be to this situation taking place. And then I hear the police chief talking and giving the announcement, and I realized, oh shit, they actually are saying that bullshit. He had a bad day, he was a troubled person, porn addiction. And that sunk my heart. That made me so angry. That's crazy that they just keep repeating the same rhetoric and bullshit, and, you know, society has no choice but to let it be shoved down our throats, and they keep getting away with it. And then I've also heard a lot of different discussions of, well, was it really Asian hate? Was it really a racist hate crime against Asians, or was it because of his porn addiction and he was just killing sex workers? And so that got me thinking, like, well, either way, doesn't that denote maybe a problem within the Asian community? Because either it is a hate crime against Asians and he really wanted to kill Asians, or it just points out once again what percentage of Asian women seem to work in those sex markets. And then it's like, well, why? We're all aware of this. Are we saying that culturally young Asian women just by nature somehow grow up wanting to be a sex worker? And there's nothing wrong with someone wanting to do that, and there's going to be a percentage of people where that is the case. But in, like, massage parlors and stuff like that, you got to think there's a lot of, like, human trafficking going on, and almost a type of certain slavery that society knows about and turns a blind eye to. And then it's like, well, why are we turning a blind eye to it? Why are we, like, that's its own form of hate and racism, because there's got to be a problem within that community here in, like, America where that's happening. And Fidel, I know you know a lot about that.
But I know that, you know,
so
America has done a very good job in Hollywood.
Just wrap up my thought. No, just wrap up my thought. So it just highlights, no matter how you look at it, whatever side the people are trying to argue, a problem within, you know, why so many Asian women are there and why no one's doing anything about it. So it's either
I just wanted to hop on that comment about that comment about how, like, Hollywood has always portrayed Asian women as being sex workers. Like, I don't think there's ever been, you know what I mean? Like, it's always the chicks in the massage parlor, or the Vietnam movie with the chicks at the brothel, or that's always what it is. That's the Hollywood stereotype, right? So, you know, again, even if these ladies are working in the sex trade, that doesn't give you right to kill them. It doesn't give you right to premeditate, to go out and kill somebody. Like, regardless of what that person's occupation is, like, that has nothing to do with this. And I really hope people don't get the two mixed up. It doesn't matter what the occupation is. This dude had no right to pick up a gun and to go out and to kill not one, not two, not four, not six, but 8 different individuals. Point blank, period. You don't have a right to do that. That is premeditated first-degree murder. So it doesn't matter whether these Asian women were in the sex trade. It doesn't matter. And the problem is that white supremacy is based in conservative, Judeo-Christian, far-right views, and that is the reason why this is even a subject matter, because they want to taint the fucking jury pool. Oh, well, you know, he was growing up, like I said, he had a Baptist upbringing, and, you know, this wasn't right, and he felt he was cleansing the world. And listen, all that is bullshit. I don't want to hear that shit. He killed people. That's what this is about. He killed people.
Yeah, none of us want to hear it, and they just keep shoving the same stories down our throats, and we have to, and then, like, we fight. They get a lighter sentence, and, like, we fight again. Like, it's, I don't know. I'm usually more positive. Maybe I'm feeling down about progress right now.
Well, what I want to add in is that, again, I'm not. Let me put this as best as I can, just to make sure that nothing goes out of context here. The mass shootings in America are very common. We know every year 8 to 9 to 10 mass shootings happen across the United States. That is not that's not uncommon within their culture because it's part of their constitution. Now, the thing that worries me, and this is the thing that should worry all of us, and again, it should be worrisome in North America, is that there is white men in power in a position that they are able to try to lead other white men into racist crimes and humanize them. That's my concern. My concern is that if there's a comedian, I don't remember his name, that said, if you want to stop gun violence in America, just put black and brown people to pick up guns and you'll see how guns get banned immediately. Like, and it's a joke, but it's actually true because there's white men. Every time a white man that has a power, at some type of power, tries to kind of make a white crime seems less than a black crime, or try to see a black or Asian situation less than a white situation. And they have the power and they are not held accountable. This captain should be fired.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
He should be fired. Like, there's no reason why that guy, there needs to be no investigation. There needs to be no committee. He should be fired and never get a job in law enforcement again in his life. But how the states work is that he can go to another state and get a job as a policeman because the laws in the states are different. Now, again, my concern is that when you're white and you're a man specifically, the world is yours. And because you feel, because there's no actual fact that you feel that somebody's taking something away from you, you are allowed to react
any way you want.
And there's no consequences, or if there is some consequences, if it's clear as light and day like this is, somebody's going to try to humanize you because you're white. That's the main problem. And I think that's where people need to focus. Don't focus. Again, there's going to be another mass shooting. That's not going to change. That's not going to change. There's going to be another one. There's going to be another one maybe next week, maybe in 3 months. That's going to happen. That's part of the United States culture. What's not part of the United States culture is that because you're white and you're a man, you have this overpower about anybody, whether it's a woman of color, man of color, race, like that is not part of the American society. That should not be part of any society.
No, but I think, you know what? I mean, Trump is definitely him, Rush Limbaugh, these other dudes, Alex Jones. These individuals have spurred this movement and have empowered these individuals to go to this level, right? Like, Trump coined the phrase China virus. Like, that's his wording, right? That's verbatim.
Yeah.
Like, so he gave this action a name and he gave it an actual title. Right. So, people need to understand that, this is what happens. And this is the reason why everyone was so hell bent on getting Trump out of office and stopping his rhetoric, and why people were so vocal and making sure that they were countering what he was saying while he was in office, because words carry weight. And when you go ahead and feed into, and this is the thing, Trump doesn't give a shit, right? Trump activated a whole demographic that is now going to go run amok, and he's nowhere to be found. Right, all because he was looking to get reelected and looking to fucking have some sort of power behind his movements. So he's left them high and dry. So he activated this whole underground, demographic of white individuals who feel like the world's being taken away. They can't do what they used to do. Why can't we have the good old days? Blah, 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 blah. And this is what happened. And you know what? White Americans and North Americans need to get mad about this too, because you know what? This is what happens. This is what happens when you spew rhetoric and you do your bullshit, and now you have one of your own, a 21-year-old young white male full of promise, who has now killed 8 individuals. And I really hope that people stick to the story, that this is a murder, This is a premeditated murder, multiple murders. This man went out and premeditated and did this. And that is what the narrative needs to be. But you know what? Unfortunately, the media is going to go ahead and keep using the term massage parlor. They may not say sex worker. They're going to say massage parlor worker because everyone knows, unfortunately, massage parlor, thanks to Hollywood, goes hand in hand and synonymous with prostitution. You can't just be a fucking masseuse anymore. If you're Asian, you got to be doing extra. And that's the problem. Like, it's been set up where minorities can't win because we are so indoctrinated with these stereotypes.
But I don't even think that the stereotyping
might be the word sex workers in the media. No, because they were talking about porn addiction. Well, they kept talking about porn addiction. Maybe that's how they alluded to.
I'm just saying that unfortunately, like if you use the term massage parlor and Asian worker, like the whole thing, the whole context.
Well, you could use the word spa.
But let's say let's say this. Let's just take a minute here. Let's take a minute here and totally. Let's say that they were prostitutes. They were whatever. Matter. Exactly. They were whatever you think it is. It could be anything. They could be anything like from CEO. They could be CEOs. They could have been athletes. It could have been any position that you think it is. Doesn't take the massage parlor, sex working stereotype. Take it out of the context. The problem lies if you're white and you're a man, all of a sudden the power shift changes for anything that you do that is a crime. Like again, we saw this with Dylan Roof. We saw this with the George Floyd murders. We saw this with the Breonna Taylor murders. We saw this with the guy that shot somebody, the two protests in, I think it was in Tennessee, that he went to another state. These are white men that get all the sympathy for a crime.
But
crime, which is it's the craziest thing.
There's more to it than that, though, because you've also got a group of people, and we can even talk about the future generation who have been angered by Trump, riled up by Trump, who need no specific formal education to be in these positions of power where they become the police chiefs who can then sympathize with the racists. You've got people in power who are related to these racists. They're being spoken to in a way of sympathy because it is basically their son, their neighbor, their best friend, because they're fucking racist too. You've got a group of racists running the ship, letting people kill other people, and of course they're going to say nice things because they understand where they're coming from because they would do the same fucking shit. They're in power because they don't like black people. They don't like Asian people. They want to stick it to the man. They want to get what's coming to them as white men and get what they deserve. So of course they're going to let people kill people and then make it a sad story and it's about the pornography and he's a Baptist. It's their friends. They're all in cahoots. It's one group of people. We're against that group of people.
Wow, that's the truth. That's the most clear truth.
Like I sent this thing to the Black of the Maritimes IG account.
That's why it's so
and
sad.
It's basically in the music realm. There's a guy, and I'm gonna say his name, John Cooper, because fuck you, John Cooper, and fuck your band. So John Cooper's lead singer of this band called Skillet. They're a Christian hard rock metal band. This motherfucker did a video recently where he wants to go in on Meg and Cardi and WAP, okay? And he wants to go ahead and literally, in his first video, equate her Grammy performance and their Grammy performance to Hitler giving a speech because he went on this massive rant about good being evil in these last days. My point that I'm trying to make is, first off, fuck you, John, and I hope you come after me because I can't stand you or your band. Secondly, white men need to understand something. Just because you're attracted to a woman who's not white and you feel some weird way and you don't know how to handle it, doesn't give you the right to make a stupid fucking video equating them to Hitler or shooting up 8 people in Atlanta. Because that's exactly what the problem seems to be. And the reason why I bring up this dude is because he is a Christian, okay? And he goes on in his video to talk about Judeo-Christian views, and he even went so far as to say that Madonna back in her heyday and her sexual exploits on stage were okay because it was under the guise of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, where Cardi B and Megan are trying to make you think that being sexual isn't evil. Listen, white man, Okay? Fuck you, first off. Madonna was the spearhead of this shit. And again, just because you find Cardi and Megan hot and you don't know how to deal with it, doesn't give you a right to shit on them. White men need to understand, get your sexual shit in check. I'm sick and tired of white men blaming minority women for their inability to deal with the fact that they're attracted to them. Like, I'm tired of this shit. Especially, and the reason why I bring up religion is because, unfortunately, white systemic racist views are based on hardcore right-wing Christianity. So they tie the two together, right? So you can't talk about one without talking about the other. And yeah, I'm going to put this shooter in Atlanta in the same category I'm going to put this fucking John Cooper, because it's the same shit. It's the same shit. You have two white men who can't handle their own fucking sexuality, and then they want to go and lash out. So he wants to lash out on a video and equate a fucking black female entertainer, two black female entertainers, to Adolf Hitler. That is the same, that to me is just as damaging as someone going out and shooting 8 motherfucking people.
Well, it's a very slippery slope. Like violence against women starts in rhetoric and talking about women in that way, and then
absolutely
these things happen.
But that's exactly what I'm getting to. Is that's where it starts. You got people in these positions of power, like you said, who want to spew this rhetoric and get these individuals riled up. Because then he came out when people were shitting on him in the comments. He came out with the rebuttal video because he wanted to put things in context. No, listen. You need to think first before you put out a fucking video and make sure your shit's in context. You don't get a second chance to make that first impression. And like Hillary just said, that's where it starts. So the rhetoric starts here. And you have individuals who take that snapshot and take that rhetoric and run with it.
I think.
And what do you do after that? When you say, "Oh well, no, they took it out of context. That's not what I meant." No, listen, I'm done with it, man. I'm tired of it, because anyone of my skin shade or fucking light, a little bit lighter or damn sure darker, would not be getting this fucking second and third and fourth chances. It would be happening. I look at a white woman the wrong way, I'm getting fucking locked up. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. So that's just facts.
So the problem is that that white people in North America get away with it, or get lesser sentences than people of other cultures that do the same thing. But it's still it's not just a white culture problem. I think we should take a second to acknowledge that, like, violence against women and the murder of women takes place in every culture, in every country, all over the planet.
No, and that's true, because human nature is human nature, and you're right about that.
But there is something to be said about things like Donald Trump even coining the phrase China virus, and then like this shit is like an offset of that, of him inciting the riots and nothing happens. Men talking about women in a certain way, violence happens against women, and like no one is ever really at fault or to blame, and there's always sympathy and there's always a reason why it's justifiable.
Now, guys, I'm gonna say something here, and let's just think about it for a second. Let's just reflect one thing. You see, when it's something happening in China, like what's happening in the Uyghur community, in saying that the government in China is doing a hate crime. You go to the Middle East and you see when people say there are terrorist attacks in Baghdad, in Syria, in anywhere else. You go to places like in Northern Europe or Southern Europe or places like that, in the poor lower countries like Albania, Romania, and you're saying that there are terrorist attacks and Islamophobia and religious attack. In America, in the United States, when it's a white man doing the same thing as this other countries, it's not a terrorist crime. They don't mention terrorists. They don't mention hate crime. They don't mention religious crime. Never. And it's only, again, I'm not going to say white people. I'm never saying white people. No, never going to say that. It's specifically white men. There was a shooting of a kindergarten school. There was a white dude that shot children, and they didn't call him a terrorist. And anytime that there's a white man committing a crime, the label doesn't stick to a white man.
But again, it's because it's white people who are making the media, and it's white people consuming the media. Like it's a self-serving circle. You're not going to call your friends terrorists. You're going to find a reason why this is acceptable because you don't know that it's not going to be someone you know doing it next. Like they're going to blame video games for violence, and then they're going to blame porn, and then they're going to blame something else, because I think it's almost as if, and maybe this is coming from a place of trauma in me, but it feels very much to me like specifically white men all almost have this like switch. And I imagine that a lot of them could be provoked enough where it could be them. So why would they call each other terrorists and rapists and talk about violence against women and talk about these things when if you do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing or look the wrong way enough, they could be part of that same statistic? Maybe that's just how I feel as someone who's been raped fucking 3 times, but it seems like it's just ever so close with all of them. So why would they talk about it in that way?
You're not wrong about that. You're very that's a very, because even
like that's how I feel, that like if they make the media and they feel that, like, if the police chief or whoever the fuck he is talking about Asians in a racist way, he's going to humanize this person because he knows, he's probably saying in his head, fuck those Asians, they should have fucking died. So why would he's going to defend this guy? And I feel like there's a little bit of that in that entire group of people, that they can justify, they can see why that would happen. They can understand why that skirt was just too short. They can understand why that woman was asking for it. So you're not going to defend that person. You're on their side. Like you're on their side.
And that is the propaganda that white males feed each other. I mean, from the time they're fucking little. Like that's just what it is. When you look at the propaganda that's fed in the white male community, that's just what it is. And yes, Clinton, you're absolutely right. There is violence against women. And human nature is human nature, and that's what people understand. Like that's people are going to act the way that people act. However, we are not all in a position of power to influence the media and to engage in the consistent propaganda that white males are. When white males are constantly pushing propaganda that, like Hillary just said, oh, as a woman, your skirt's too short, your blouse is too tight, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't walk here, you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't look at me this way, you shouldn't even. It's ridiculous. There's like she said, there's always a way out. And every white male is programmed to be right on that fucking hair's edge, like she just said, of going psycho. And if they do go psycho, it's not their fault. It's your fault, because you should have known that they are just a hair's breadth away from being psychotic and going over that line. And then
Thank you.
And then we romanticize when they become psychotic, right? Fucking what is it? Fucking American Psycho, fucking The Joker, fucking we just romanticize you when you become psycho. Ted Bundy, we make movies and documentaries. Zac Efron gets to play you in a documentary so bitches can love you. It's ridiculous. Like what happens and what male society has done and what they do is utterly insane. And when you actually see it for what it is, it's mind-blowing, and it's something that I really, really hope people are seeing and beginning to break down and to dismantle, because this really needs to stop. You do not get to have every excuse in the book when you cross those social and moral lines. You don't. You just do not. Like I said, in 2021, I can get my ass arrested for looking at a white chick the wrong way, depending on the situation at the time and what she feels she wants to do. That's just what it is, right? Wow. I'm still cautious. Yeah. I'm still cautious about how I act. Like I'm in the store and I got to be like, we're supposed to be social distancing at Walmart or Costco. No one does it in Costco. So if I'm with my cart and there's some white chick in front of me, I have to purposely slow down the way that I'm walking to make sure that I don't get, and I do this besides COVID, to make sure I'm not too close to her, because I don't want to hear any bullshit, right? Because 9 out of 10, when I'm in Costco, I'm the only black motherfucker there. So, you know what? Like, but no, that to me is very relevant.
But not even you, your children, your grandchildren, and again, this is the systemic racism goes on. And just to wrap this up, I think we have to think that there is a problem with being white and male and having this power and not being accountable for it. And we need to, as a society, we need to look, wait a minute, why do you have this position? Why are you here? And why are you saying this? And why are you putting this? And again, it should not be this type of behavior within a structure of society. Is unacceptable. Like, again, I feel sorry for all the murders that's happened, but the fact is that we we have to be careful if we are people of color or if we are minorities. But if even women, white women, have to be careful when they walk. Like there was a woman in London that got killed, and they told the women not to go out. And that's what I'm saying. Just to put this, like, there has to be this.
Don't forget to mention that she was murdered by an off-duty cop.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. There is this thing in society that if you're white and male, your overall your narrative changes, which should not be a thing. It should be unacceptable in any way. But anyways, we're gonna move on, and we're gonna go to Hillary with some facts that she has. So
I upset myself talking about all of that. I'm all upset.
It is.
Let me
upsetting.
collect myself with my trauma blanket. Okay, now I'm gonna make everybody more upset because I'm gonna talk about Black people being sold. So everybody, put on your hats because now we're gonna be a different type of sad. So now I got to. Recently, we talked about this in I believe the Telegraph Journal, and it saw some headlines which were super, super sick, but I thought it was worth mentioning here. So I want to first of all thank my friend who works at the archives, Meredith Bad, who is getting us all of this cool stuff and cool information. And by cool, I mean interesting. Again, I don't mean that any of it is fun. I'm going to try to read this bill of sale for a human being. It is written in old-timey, like Beowulf English script. So please bear with me and be kind. And read this. This indenture witnesseth that for and in consideration of the sum of 15,000 New Brunswick currency. 15 pounds, New Brunswick currency, in hand paid me, I do hereby bargain, sell, and deliver unto my son John a Negro boy named Scipio to be his property and his heir, and successor during the life of the said Negro, and receipt of which money from the said John Harding. I do by here acknowledge, the said George Harding do also warrant the said property against all claimed whatsoever. That's enough. It was a lot. It's hard to read. But anyway, so this would have taken place in the year 1797, that a Negro boy named Scipio was sold in New Brunswick by the Harding family, and there is receipt of it. Happened in February, so yeah, isn't that awful?
I mean, we all know that we live in a racist society, so I mean, it's shocking, and I'm gonna say it. It's only shocking for white people. I mean, this ain't shocking for us. You know, it's not shocking for us because it's just like I read some of the history myself in the Maritimes, and it's just crazy. The crazy shit that, you know, how Canada picks and choose their history. Like they were like, oh, the Underground Railroad, they came here and they were free. But when you immediately say, well, there were slaves here, it's like, oh, it was before Canada was a country. I'm like, yeah, so was the Underground Railroad too, but you take that, but you don't take the other part. It's again, I mean, Canada has a long racist history that we choose not to talk about it. We pick and choose what we want. We don't say that Black people couldn't get a job in the 50s, 60s, and 70s because they were Black in New Brunswick. Like nobody talks about that. And it's dedicated history that people wanted to get human rights activists and they couldn't do it because it wasn't law until 1977 that it actually became a human rights law that you couldn't just take a person because they were Native or they were of color, that they couldn't get a job just because of the color of their skin. We also don't talk about how people couldn't do a powwow in the cities of St. John, Moncton, or Fredericton because it was racist and they didn't want it. So that meant people of color couldn't do anything, retreats or powwows, or even own a home for that type. Like Whipper can choose this story, but it is like, it's not surprising, but it's another problem about how Canada picks and chooses what they want to do. So, Clinton?
It was a crazy for me the first time I saw it. The handwritten note, it's a scanned document on like naturally aged paper. Obviously, it's from like the late 1700s. Really hard to read writing. This crazy script. It's old, faded, but yeah, it's just a receipt. It's like you go into your store, you make a purchase, you get your receipt, and this is a receipt for the sale of a black person in 1797. So not surprising at all. We knew this, but it was a weird feeling to kind of see it, hold like a printed copy in my hand and read it, because black people started coming to New Brunswick in the late 1700s, and I think 1783 was the first year they started coming. Free black people and slaves. I think like 2,500 to 4,000 slaves came to the Maritimes at that point. So that was 1783 was when the first ones came, and this bill of sale was in 1797. So like 14 years later, right after the first people started coming there. So this doesn't represent one person sold. This is just one receipt out of probably a lot of receipts that are now gone. So yeah, it's just black people trading hands here on this soil makes it feel a lot more real, because we knew it. But like you said, Fidel, and we all grow up learning that Americans are the big bad, people when it comes to slavery and everything else. And I'm not going to repeat what you said, Fidel, but yeah, we include the Underground Railroad, but we don't include the dark history. So seeing that stuff uncovered kind of just legitimizes that, it happened here. And so, of course, there's going to be remnants of the effects of slavery from the black descendants that still live here, and, a reckoning that never properly took place. That's what I think about it.
Alon?
I listen. It's troubling. It's disturbing. Absolutely. Yeah, Maritimers really need to own up to that part of their history. But honestly, I don't see it any different than when you have white individuals who want to get an Asian baby or an African baby because it's fashionable and trendy. That when that whole thing was going around here and white people just like adopting Asian babies because they felt they wanted an Asian baby because it was cute and because it was trendy and fashionable. That to me is the same shit. Like white people need to stop thinking that, brown and minority kids are like pets and trophies and like a handbag. These are human beings. You don't have a right just to, take them and use them, when, for your benefit, which is whether it's for, a social status benefit or whatever, and then toss them away or not raise them properly and educate them in their background and their histoy and their heritage. So I see, excuse me?
You did have a right back then, right? Because it was
yeah, I guess so. I guess so. But I mean,
like,
honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, on a human level, you don't have a right to do that, right? But like I said, I've seen modern forms of that. Like once again, when that whole Asian kid was a popular thing to do, and I think around here, adopting little African kids was a thing to do. It's wrong. It's wrong whether it was back in the 1700s. It's wrong now. Minorities are not there for your aggrandizement, for your entertainment, for your level of status. They're human beings. And they're individuals and people, just like yourselves. I mean, but yeah, I just, history is wrought with different abuses of minority children, whether it be, the old orphanages back in the day. And, there's been tons of stories, hundreds of stories, thousands, probably millions even of stories of just, young kids who have been sold and traded and just, the majority of them being minorities. So it's disheartening. It hurts. It definitely hurts. And I really would love to see the day when, the Maritimes collectively says, yeah, this is our history and we own up to it and we're responsible and offer a public apology. It would be nice. I think it would be a huge step forward in race relations here, just to get the history right and to acknowledge it, right? That's the only way you can move forward. Hiding it, we're going to stay in the same gerbil wheel if we keep hiding it and keep acting like it never happened.
So I disagree. fuck the apology. Give us some money. Give us some power. Give us education.
Oh, fact. Listen, I'm all for reparations. I'm all for reparations. I was trying to be politically correct. Sorry.
I don't give a fuck about any other apology.
We're trying to be politically correct.
No.
For once, I'm trying to be politically correct.
No.
I'm gonna give it a shot. Yeah.
I'm gonna be the least politically correct in this fucking apology. I'm tired of people apologizing for shit that they did or did not, whatever. Give us some money, give us some power, give us some education, give us what we need. Give us what we need. Fuck the apology. I don't want to hear sorry for nobody. But anyways, we're gonna end it up with that. Guys, don't forget to like us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at Black in the Maritimes. Also, please comment and rate us on Apple. It really helps the show a lot. So definitely give us that. Please buy some merch. I'm just going to send something to the team so they can model it. And hopefully you guys enjoy the merch. So anybody has anything else to say?
I guess I'll just do what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks.
Something to add this time to it, though. So
so I would just do mine then. So check out my band Echo 7. We have our single out, Everything Redux version 2.021, out now on Bandcamp and all digital platforms. Check out our merch on Teespring. Like us on Instagram and Facebook.
Hillary?
Cropberry on all social medias as usual. Check out the blog. This time I want to add that I am doing a mental health photo project. It launches on April 17th, which is a very important date, which I will explain on the launch day. But if you want to follow the journey and see how it's all coming together and what it's going to be about, second.glances on Instagram.
Clinton.
Check out our website, lsdbeauty.com. Hair care, beauty products. We've got over 3,000 and growing. That's it.
All right, guys. Peace.
Bye.